after the curveball now that we've got with 106, like the Ignia and Selene fight already going, like getting underway. I didn't expect it for a few more chapters. I didn't think till maybe like 107, 108 we would get their fight starting. And I didn't think until maybe like a chapter 2 into it we would get them actually in their dragon forms fighting. I guess it makes a lot of sense from the context of the two characters because they know how powerful each other are, and it's not a fight between two wizards at this point. It's a fight between two dragons, and I'm here for it. I'm excited to see where this goes. This is realistically the biggest battle we've seen in the series. Like, I don't expect to have like 10 chapters on this. There's two things I would like. One, I'm trying actually. I know, hand. I'd have to go back and look at where volume 12 ends because I'm thinking like I really want something like this on the next volume, but I think this might not be until volume 13 that we would even potentially see a cover like this. But oh man, that'd be so sick. Either way, I'm just hoping for the best way that I really saw it when I was thinking about it is kind of like how Ignia and Acnologia went, where we would see chunks, we would see like a first big opening in the next chapter, a lot in the fight, and then we would get set up with other events, and then during those other events we would see chunks of the fight, and then by the time those fights are all over, we would get back to this fight, and then we would start edging towards this fight's conclusion, which I think would make a lot of sense because also it would be something that clearly displays the length of their battle over the course of everything. Because like you have sometimes like fights go on during other fights, but not many of them are gonna be as like outright claws and fangs and just brutality between these two dragons. There's like than what we're gonna get next chapter. And I think when you look at that, when you look at like just generally it's gonna be really cool to see like characters this big fight. We're probably gonna get some lore stuff just to see where like events from here go. How are the character reactions gonna be? I feel like this is gonna be one of those things where we're gonna have to have like characters all over the world like reacting, because like we know that the hype bit for each of the dragon gods and like where it sits, but like this is two of them fighting in their dragon form, so like I expect Mishima to go pretty wild with this one and really kind of like decide to to put up some insane things with them. Because it's not really like when it comes to like fight like when, or like kind of like feats or fights rather, kind of like that gist of where I'm saying. Like when it came to like the Natsu Zeref fight, I wish Zeref showed more hacks because that was Zeref's biggest thing. Obviously, it was like he knows tons of different magic and tons of black magic, and we didn't see a ton of that. It was cool to see him going hand to hand, and it made sense for why he would want to fight Natsu that way instead of more as like a broken caster. Or like Igni and Selene, like there should be nothing that really hinders them, because like with the Zeref one, it's like, okay, well, big character, I don't need to see a million crazy feats from him. I'm just hoping to see displays of like his abilities being broken. The dragon gods have a lot of weight and a lot of height with their title, and I think with that height they really need to they need to just have some good time displaying it. And like this is going to be a fight between them. This isn't going to be Suzaku versus Selene where turns out we only saw like a way weaker than actual Selene. We're going to see these two dragon gods. I don't imagine go all out. Like I don't think that we're going to see them put in 110% kind of fight. I'm hoping that we just get to see like a bout between them, and maybe this is going to be one of those cases where we see, oh yeah, these guys are equal. Like they can't just beat the other person. And it's like on top of it, I feel like with all these dragon slayers around, it'd be a really bad idea for them to fight near a breaking point, because like even if say like Selene or Ignia was able to inch out a win against the other, what's going to stop these dragon slayers from coming in and cleaning up the place? But I my guess is more as it's going to be like one of those display fights where we're probably going to see Selene and Ignia damaged a little bit, but I imagine they're not going to be, I assume at least, they're not going to be walking out of these fights with like horrendously irreversible wounds. I could see maybe something that hinders one of them for a bit. Like if one of them gets distracted during the fight, something catches their eye, and it's just one of those things where, oh, well, the character just had that split second mess up that gave the other character like the moment to strike. And if we get something like that, I could see, and maybe they get hurt and they have to leave and recover. I would like it way more as like kind of like a stalemate or a draw, or maybe like a couple, like we see them fighting a couple chapters, and it's like Ignia's like, okay, well, I gotta make sure I have my plans in order and I gotta attend to that. I don't have time for this, pretty much. It's fun, but you're not my main fight. And he gets up and pretty much just flies away and leaves. I think that would be really cool, because it it would really put Igni, I think, in a smarter light to show him up where he's not going to risk too much of, like, obviously now he's got a bigger plan and not just his fight with Natsu. He's got other stuff going on with this whole Age of Dragons and whatnot. I wish I could do a video on. But it just makes me feel like the bigger thing that we're going to be really getting, I think, is just more of an understanding of what these characters can do, what they're capable of, and the threat level they pose. Because we've only really seen them in their human forms or in weakened versions for the most part. Mercifobia didn't have his intelligence to him, and really, like, for the most part, when we saw the main cast fighting him, he wasn't even using half his power. And again, he was just a rampaging animal. He didn't have any of his intelligence as a dragon, and especially somebody as old and as experienced as him, I would assume that would, come into a large factor, especially with something as freeform as water. He probably could do a lot more crazy OP things than, like, with his water than, like, the mindless monster Mercifobia did. And with Alderaan, we saw Alderaan at full power for a little bit, but we know that each time one of those god seeds were destroyed until they grow back, he is in a weakened state. So Selene, not like we've seen Selene in her human form, we haven't seen her full power, but now we're actually going to see two of them clash. And I think that's pretty cool because, like I said, with Alderaan, we saw him either at full power briefly, and like once Natsu was able to actually fight him, it was a weakened Alderaan. So we've only had kind of like, not necessarily nerfed, but ways that we've only been put, for the most part, in situations where the other Dragons, we have seen them, do stuff. They've only kind of given us mild amounts what they had. We haven't gotten the full picture. It's just been kind of like a demo. That was one of my hopes, that I hope Mercifobia comes back. Like Alderaan, it's not really good for Alderaan. Depends on the context. I wouldn't mind as much because I thought he was neat, and I would like to see him do stuff again. But I don't really mind if he's gone. We'll see. It's gonna depend on what Igni wants to do with this whole new age of dragon things. Is he gonna resurrect all the dragons? Like, what is he gonna do? Like, what's his plan? Is that coffin that Kieran's has gonna come into play? Is that Acnologia? Question mark? Who knows? Regardless of which, comment below. Tell me your thoughts about this next chapter. Like, I know I haven't gone over like a ton of different theories and ideas of like where the next chapter could go, but I feel like the only thing that people are gonna really want to talk about is this big dragon clash. And I feel like the big dragon clash, we don't need to have some crazy like 5D chess plot twist in this fight. We could have some cool, interesting stuff for what's going on with the other cast, like the other characters and their plots and the events that they're at right now. But when it comes to the Igni versus Selene fight, I would love just to focus on Igni and Selene in battle. I want to see giant spells from the moon and massive fireballs that are just like burning everything around him into ash. Like anything it touches is just gone. I want some hype stuff like that. Like this is a fight where I feel like that is needed. I don't think every fight has to have power levels that match up with like where some of these characters are, because you're always gonna have those times where it's like, potencies can come into play and stuff. Like not every character is gonna throw a random attack and it's gonna be just as monstrous as like every time they've done it. It's like, okay, like yeah, there's gonna be some forms of potency thing. There's gonna be some forms of times where you're not gonna see that craziness, but sometimes you might see it. I think this is a fight where we should see it. I think this is one of those ones where logically from the setup, we should see some crazy things, because these are literally two of the three strongest people known on the planet right now and in the verse. Gotta fight, and like Selene seems pretty mad. So on top of it just like being a battle, it's not just gonna be them, clashing. It's like Selene seems to actually be upset over this. So hopefully it's more of a personal fight. But anyway, other than that, I just thought about what if we could get some lore between them. I would be so happy if we could get just, it doesn't have to be a flashback. If we could just get some dialogue from like naming some dragons, maybe they talk about what they've been doing over these 500 years. Like, what if it's like, when Acnologia is rampaging, the only reason Igni is alive is because, maybe Selene teleported him away, like, initially, and that's how he knows Selene or something. Or maybe, something like, maybe we'll get something from Dogremag around this. I don't know. Either way, comment below, thumbs up the video, before like, button, subscribe, and check out my other videos. And I appreciate you guys subscribing. Thank you all for listening. Bye.